shit computer that I spent thousands of dollars on, and it just went out. It just goes out. It's a piece of shit. I'm sorry. Let's get back with this. Very sorry. Apologize. I can't do anything about it right now because of money. I just don't have that money. I've been, sick with stuff, so I apologize. But I want to get back with this, like I said before, with the general and everything. Let's see. I had to edit this here. Alright, I didn't get this right here. I'd update. Okay. So hopefully that is. Again, I'm very sorry. It pisses me off too. I want to really just put my fist through this computer. It's a piece of shit. But I poured thousands of dollars into it, and I'm never going to buy ass rock again. See people come in. But, hopefully it won't restart again. It's a stupid motherboard from Ass Rock. Show must go on here. But like I said, like parallels with the mob and everything. You keep that stuff there, and these people that you trust, they call you up and they say, hey, we need to talk to you. And I get the feeling he knew what could happen. Leaving the phone there, he left that because it has some stuff, I think, just names of friends or whatever. I don't think he wanted other people going through his phone. He left it there at the house. And the thing is, I think he might have trusted the person a little bit, but he thought he was in trouble. There's another reason why I believe he left it there. But there's some trust where he wasn't going to bring his phone. There's just... Because the thing is, if he had his phone with him, the police, the FBI could ping where he was. So usually that means that you trust them as much as you don't when you do that. I also wonder if he left that phone there, maybe so his wife and others would know his connections as evidence where he could have left it there also, because he'd be afraid of the government erasing his phone stuff, which they could do anyway. But let me see here. God, that sucks.
Just a week earlier, he'd cycled 60 miles. So the idea that he might have been so medically incapacitated that he might have fallen down on a trail,
not possible.
It just doesn't make sense.
Well, Ross, what about the possibility that he left his home without a phone and a watch because that's what he wanted to do? That he may, obviously some are speculating, he may have been having a clandestine meeting with someone and did not want to be tracked. But who would or could it be that he'd want that kind of a meeting with?
Well, okay. I mean, one of the possibilities is foreign adversary rivals, and another possibility is private military contractors who don't want General Neil McCaslin to talk about the UAP subject. I mean, no matter, I know it's unpleasant for people, and there's a tendency to ridicule and giggle and mock and stigmatise, but we have to overcome this stigma. The simple fact is, it's a matter of public record that General Neil McCaslin was liaising with the very highest levels of the White House and discussing UAP disclosure 10 years ago. So get over it, these people who think that this is something that can be dismissed with ridicule and taboo. The simple fact is it does need to seriously...
I have to go through this legal BS again. Again, this is fair use. This is fair use. This is from Ashley Banfield, Drop Dead Serious, and Ross Coulthart. And again, I go over stuff like this a lot because of my own experience from knowing people that worked on the inside on some of this stuff, and my own UFO experiences I still have, you know, with extraterrestrial stuff like that, and other paranormal things, for, you know, about 50 years. So
seriously be considered that there is some connection between his UAP knowledge and the reasons for his disappearance.
UFO.
And it does seem like an extraordinary coincidence, an extraordinary synchronicity that his disappearance happened so soon after President Trump made his announcement on Truth Social. I sincerely hope that what we see are the authorities getting to the truth of this and showing a little more aggression and zeal to actually find the general. It would be good to see senior leadership in the US Air Force, the US military, and indeed in the White House expressing concern about the disappearance of one of the most senior generals in the history, you know, of recent times in the Pentagon. This guy is a very, very highly respected person. He's a good human being, loved by his family and respected by his friends. His disappearance shouldn't go unnoticed. And more importantly, his loss at the moment is a grave national
it's
security.
rather convenient that he is going unnoticed by everybody but the UFO community. There's something really, really wrong with that, where they are the ones that have to put him out there. And they should have had Amber Alerts about him, you know, the minute after, you know, his wife said he's missing and stuff like that. Now, sometimes the police say give it 24, 48 hours and stuff like that. You know, he does, said 68 miles? No way. No way. Anyways, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Anyways, that's what I thought I heard. Let me put this on. But, jeez. There's no excuse for that. There's no excuse why to do Amber Alerts on this guy. They didn't have it on the news. I don't know if they did. I don't know about it, but come on, I'll pause.
Security concern by any measure, because even though he left the Air Force in 2013, the secrets that are locked up in his head are still relevant today. And also,
But like I said, he's still in the know, just like I'm still in the know. There's stuff that I get, you know, there's intelligence that I still get on stuff, and there's stuff that he still gets from people as well. So it isn't from, you know, over 20 years, over 15, 12 years ago, or 13 years ago. Yeah, 13 years. You're always going to be to know about that. You're always going to know stuff. You know what's going on currently with some stuff as well. So once you're in it, you're in it. You're going to know stuff. So
the company that he's been working with, ATA, Applied Technologies, they do a lot of work with the US Defense Department, a lot of very high-level work on some new extraordinary technologies, most of which are classified. It defies explanation to me that it's not a bigger issue, that the general's disappearance is not on the front pages of the newspapers.
Quick note from my sponsor: if your teenager is glued to their phone 8 hours a day or more,
I am not.
barely sleeping, obsessing over how they look, you got to stop scrolling and listen to this. We used to think that this was just a phase, right? But there are new reports that suggest these platforms were designed to keep our kids addicted. I'm talking about anxiety spikes, body dysmorphia.
At the moment is nothing much has happened in US aerospace technology in the last 30 or 40 years. And it's pretty obvious America's been developing stuff in the black, which is great news. I mean, we should all be proud and very happy that...
I don't think so. I don't. I know he's talking about from one part of it, not the whole thing, but our military-industrial complex is so corrupt, it's rotted, like a rotten apple, okay? Worse than a rotten apple, okay? Rotten mushrooms and stuff, alright? And to its core, it's even worse. Stuff of nightmares are made of and stuff. If people knew, like I do, what our ghost is doing is the stuff of nightmares, and you'd wish you wouldn't be able to sleep at night. You would not be able to sleep at night if you knew what I knew. You wouldn't. It's terrible for the stuff that keeps you, because they want to make money off of it. They want to weaponize this stuff. We the people have a right to have this magic, to go to the stars, to create a clean, limitless energy out of this, and replace oil and electricity. This would cause a global instability, though, with the oil thing, because people depend on it still, as people may know, and I do, because I've done stuff on Iran. But they want to keep this for themselves. They want to keep this and weaponize all this stuff. And the stuff should be for the people more, instead of being for some big boy toys, you know, where these guys want to have their toys and play around with it, and keep the rest of us ordinary Jane and Joes, keep us looking like being Neanderthals and everything. This is about ego, power tripping, and keeping stuff a secret, and making money off it. So
that America is developing technologies, which means that hopefully we can defeat our foreign adversary rivals in the event, God forbid, of a confrontation. But the man who has...
Well, that's the BS of it, and I wish Ross and these other guys would stop to say it's a foreign threat. No, it's not. Like I said, there are some ETs that are bad. I don't see us doubting them so much as we are good ones. And this isn't about a foreign threat. This is having to do with making money and weaponizing this magic, or / technology. It has nothing to do with national security. China has this stuff. Russia has this stuff. They have satellites. They can see everything that we're doing right now with satellites and other stuff. The only ones that are looking stupid is us. You know, Russia and China knows everything that's going on at these bases. They know. The only ones that look stupid are us. You know,
has been at the apex of those discoveries is General Neil McCasland. This is why it's utterly absurd to try and play down any suggestion that he wouldn't know things, that he would know things that are militarily sensitive. Of course he knows things. And this is the point. I believe that America is concealing breakthroughs in propulsion, energy, weapons systems that they're sitting on in the event of possible confrontation. And the fact that the man who was very much at the highest levels of overseeing those developments, those new weapons, those new propulsion systems, has disappeared is a matter of grave public concern.
Is it possible, I mean, you've mentioned defense contractors, private defense contractors, you've mentioned foreign adversaries. I'm assuming when you say foreign, you mean foreign borders, not foreign planets, or solar systems, etc.
Susan's right. I mean, I don't think there's any evidence at all that he's been taken by aliens.
Yeah.
No, but the simple fact is, we're talking...
That's so stupid that she said that. Okay, even if he was, or I'm just saying, because it makes the whole thing look like a joke. People are just going to make it a joke. And it makes me look at the wife. If I was the FBI, look at a case and, hey, my husband is missing. Hey, but hey, he could be taken by aliens. Now, me and Bob over here, Joe, are going to be looking at her like, how could you say such a thing? You say this as a joke? If you love your husband, you're not going to make it, sound like a joke. And my shift, who, the culprit could be, I'd be looking at her. That she did something to him. Because that's bad. Again, that's poor choice of words. And Russia and China, no, they don't care about him. They have their own intelligence. They have their own extraterrestrial craft and technology, magic stuff. They don't need one of our generals. They're not going to sack him. Our own government kills people. Has killed people quite a many times. Where we thought, he's, a person's going to talk. It's not just having to do with UFOs either, but it's other things as well. Drug running, stuff the CIA did in the 80s, and stuff. So,
hear about Russia, China, anybody that's got a hostile intent.
And I assume that's what you meant. I just wanted to make our audience clear that's what you meant. But is it possible at all that the third possibility might be the U.S. government themselves? Were trying to quiet General McCaslin if he was planning to talk out of step?
Well, we do know, it's a matter of public record, that 10 years ago, General Neil McCaslin was leading an initiative to disclose UAP transparency. He wanted the public to know what he knew. 10 years later, just a few weeks after the president makes an announcement that he's going to disclose UAP secrets, what happens? The general, who was one of the principal architects of a secret move with the Democrats to reveal UAP's secrecy, disappears. Now, I'm sorry, I don't think it's a conspiracy theory to suggest there might be a link. Why the hell are we burying our heads in the sand on this issue? The question has to be asked. I sincerely hope, for his family's sake, that it turns out to be a simple case of medical misadventure and that there's nothing sinister in his disappearance. But we're 12, 13, 14 days now into the disappearance of an extremely senior, retired, former US Air Force general with some of the biggest secrets in the US military-industrial complex in his head, including the secrets that the US government holds on UAPs. We shouldn't bury our head in the sand on the possibility that there might be a link, a connection. And what needs to be seen is far more aggression in terms of searching for the general. I know there's concerns among his friends and certain colleagues at certain aerospace companies that I've spoken to, that this general, his disappearance has largely gone unacknowledged in legacy media. Why? Yeah. I mean,
the only thing I can say, and I believe that the Nancy Guthrie case has swallowed every ounce of oxygen that's been out there, but also, America's just gone to war, and that's also dominated the headlines, and maybe that's one of the reasons that General McCaskill's disappearance didn't get bigger headlines, but it's starting to, and
I've talked, with other people about Nancy Guthrie and stuff like that, and like I said, with different stuff that I've done, disappearances, and how crazy Nancy Guthrie is, how they don't have lights, they don't have any road lights up there, and they don't have surveillance cameras on electric poles, and they don't have all the surveillance they like to do in the city. I think it could be someone that is obsessed with her, Nancy. Not with Savannah. Someone is obsessed with her. They didn't like what she may have had, obsessed with her. And with her, when I think of her and try to find where she is, Nancy actually, in my mind, disappears from reality. She disappears. This general, however, I could see more with him, whereas our government that killed him, most likely. It also may think, wife maybe as well, because that's just, family, and everything, or familiar, something like that. But China, Russia, stop the bullshit. Stop. No, they don't need him. They don't need him whatsoever. They got bigger fish to fry, and stuff. They have their own technology magic. It's the U.S. government. They do this a lot. It hasn't been done as loudly lately, but it used to happen all the time. And if they attribute to a car crash, they'd attribute the person's death to suicide. Those are two things that they would do to get rid of people. All right? And it wasn't. It wasn't suicide. People say, hey, this person wasn't suicidal. They say, hey, how this person get killed in a car crash and the other car got away? Nobody knows what happened to the other car. You put a pattern together. And I've seen plenty of cases from unsolved mysteries, way back in the 80s and stuff. People getting killed, not to talk about UFOs and stuff like that and other cases. It'd be our government that did this.
Also, just want to tug on one more thread there. When the president makes proclamations, like on Air Force One, he said the Nancy Guthrie case was about to be solved, and that was, I think, in week 2. That didn't happen. And sometimes he says things that aren't actually going to happen. Says things off the cuff, and even I've spoken to people who work with the president who says sometimes he just says what he saw on his desk. So, do you think that his comments about a disclosure of the UAP program and America's knowledge was just one of those moments where he just said what he'd heard recently, but it didn't have teeth?
Look, I think the president was looking for a distraction from the Epstein files, to be perfectly honest. I think he saw an opportunity to divert people away from the public attention on the Epstein case. I sincerely hope that...
And you see how evil our government is. Like I said, Pete Diddy, he was doing the Hollywood pop scene. He was like in charge of that, freak-offs. We have Epstein that has done stuff with people internationally, the big boys of this, the billionaires and the millionaires and stuff like that. That's what Epstein was. And he had a painting of Bill Clinton in a freaking dress. He knew stuff about the Clintons. Oh my God, he knew stuff about all these, whether it's Republican, Democrat, billionaires, whether it's the princes of different countries. And the thing is, like I said, the biggest criminals are not the ones in the prisons or out on the streets committing crimes such as murder, robbery, other felonies. It's our government that has the worst criminals, because they're getting away with murder and criminal acts all the time, and they got so-called qualified immunity and stuff, where they can get away with that and everything because of their position that they're in. Also, other people is where so much is involved in. These people talk about eating kids, the satanic part of this, where our politicians, people that you trust are the sickest people. Talk about eating kids, boys, girls, and, sexual stuff, all this stuff. And I know stuff about Trump that is not on all of YouTube. People can find it, where he was doing, Miss Teen Universe, stuff like that. And, He's guilty of some stuff. Uh, and thing is, so is everyone else. All these other people are guilty. It's not just Trump. And people can put up all this bullshit and say Trump is this, pedo this or that. Well, so are your politicians, so is your side. This isn't relegated to Trump. You have to look at all people in powerful positions, including people I know of that are in intelligence and central intelligence. There are people from the FBI as well. People from Chase Bank, higher ups there, and Chase had to pay out millions upon billions to people over what happened with Epstein. People have the sickest thing that's happening is actually in our government. And you find the people that are supposed to protect us and the people you think has good family values can be satanic. And maybe your worst enemy, actually. And that, it doesn't matter what political side of the aisle you're on, because they're all doing it. They're all doing it. And you find out the people that are supposed to have your back never had your back. They're actually keeping people out of prison that should be in prison and stuff like that.
That he's serious about UAP transparency, because he should be. Because if Donald Trump is looking for evidence of a deep state, a malevolent deep state that is operating against the best interests of the American people, he will find it in the UAP subject. A lot of the people who are, I think, calling themselves patriots inside private military contractors who believe that they're doing the best thing in the interests of the United States by concealing this incredible secret from the American.
That's a brainwashing thing that they do with troops also, people, law enforcement, and keeping stuff secret. They use these words on you, they flip it on you, say if you're a patriot, if you really love this country, you're here to keep this stuff a secret, and people could get killed, but that's our patriotic duty. This is for national security. This is, you know, it's because of the threat of the Russians and Chinese. It's all bullshit. It's all a scheme. It's a form of brainwashing that they put over on people. Because people that do this are patriotic. They love America. They want to do what's right, and they want to have their kids and family live in a secure environment with constitutional values and having those rights. The thing is that they're brainwashed by these contractors, by government, to keep this stuff a secret, when what they're doing is totally illegal and totally wrong.
In public, I think they're deluding themselves. We know for a fact that there is a legacy retrieval and reverse engineering program of non-human technology. David Grush gave evidence about this under oath to the US Congress. Jake Barber went public with me on News Nation describing his first-hand involvement with a covert military program retrieving.
This is a stupid thing, is that these guys did believe in all this stuff before these whistleblowers, and I totally hate people like that, because people like me have known from forever just about that UFOs are real. We knew the government was lying to us and stuff, and we didn't need stupid people in the government telling us what was real and what wasn't. We always knew UFOs were real and ETs were real. We didn't need some stupid people from the government, finally telling us. Yeah.
a non-human craft. What more evidence does the American public, the American government and the American Congress need to start taking this issue seriously? And President Trump really should, I think, be thinking about his legacy. If he's thinking of achieving greatness as a president, imagine if he had the opportunity to be the president who definitively revealed, yes, there is a dark state. There is a deep state. It's been hiding this incredible secret from you, the American public, for the last 80 plus years. And this is what we know. I actually think this is the biggest story in human history, and so do many people in the military, in the intelligence community, and in private military contractors who think it's time you, the American public, were told the truth about what's really going on. And yet, time and time again, Congress has failed. It's dropped the ball. We had UAP disclosure legislation on the books prior to Christmas that would have allowed contractors, people inside those private military contractor companies, to feel safe about coming forward and giving the evidence that they wanted to give. But corrupt politicians at senior levels in some of the most senior oversight committees in the Congress allowed themselves to be manipulated by private military contractors that used their evidence, their influence malignly and malevolently to suppress this story. If President Trump is looking for a moment of moral greatness, this is his opportunity to make his mark.
Yep.
Ross Coulthart, I could talk to you forever, and I know your time is limited. I know you've got a wedding coming up in the family, too, so congratulations.
Thank you very much, Ashley. Yeah,
the best to your daughter, and it must just be a wonderful time in your household. Will you talk to me again about this again another time when you have less weddings in the offing?
No problem at all.
It's
very
terrible,
happy to,
disgusting.
And thank you for giving it.
You should be ashamed of yourself. See here. Okay, right here.
You know how we've been following this strange disappearance of a retired Air Force general with these apparent connections to military technology and the UFO program? Well, right now we have some updates. We have a new timeline. Apparently there is a new photo of him, and his wife is speaking out. We are trying to get to the bottom of the theories, the investigation, and what may be going on here. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. All right, real quick before we jump further into this, I gotta tell you about this app called Upside. It's unbelievable. I think it's a game changer, actually. Why? Because Upside gets you cash back. Yes, extra cash different. We were following it from the very beginning, back when it was just a silver alert and a worried family. And a silver alert, usually issued for older adults, more vulnerable adults. Sometimes there's health issues involved, but this is weird. And this is all before the internet started, spinning theories. But here's where the story takes a turn. This missing man is William Neal McCaslin. And this is a new photo that authorities have just released showing what they believe McCaslin was wearing right before he disappeared. And I want you to get a good look at this picture here, okay? Because McCaslin didn't just serve in the Air Force. He once commanded the exact laboratory at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, the same base where conspiracy theorists have long claimed is where the government...
Conspiracy is fact, you dumbass. We've had UFOs there too. There are two people I know of that told me this personally, where their fathers have told them they had UFOs there. Two people told me this, as well as Lockheed, Flat 42, they had UFOs there as well.
Government secretly stored wreckage from Roswell, the Roswell incident. But it gets stranger, because McCaslin's name shows up in hacked emails between Hillary Clinton's former campaign manager, John Podesta, and Blink-182 guitarist Tom DeLonge discussing UFO disclosure. And then just days before McCaslin disappeared, President Donald Trump announced plans to release government UFO files. Coincidence? Maybe. But also, how do I not talk about that? Is something far stranger happening out in the New Mexico desert? Was he taken by a bad actor who wanted the information that he had? Or is this a tragic circumstance? Is this a personal circumstance? We have been tracking this case since day one, and now with all of these theories piling up and still no sign of McCaslin, we're going to try to break down everything that people are saying online, right? From kidnapping to a possible national security issue, to, yes, the mothership, that comes up too. So we're going to get a guest on who's going to help kind of separate what's real, what's speculation, what investigators might actually be looking at right now, because trust me, you're not going to believe where this story goes. And we actually have some new information that was just released from the Bernalillo County Sheriff, giving us a bit more information on McCaslin's whereabouts prior to his disappearance. I mentioned a timeline. So I want to take you back to where all this started with what we are now learning about this timeline. So we have Friday, February 27th. It's a quiet morning in the foothills of Albuquerque, New Mexico. The Sandia Mountains are right there, beautiful, rugged, the kind of place people move to for the views, the access to the outdoors. Now, according to the Bernalillo County Sheriff's Office, which is the lead agency on this case, here's how the timeline breaks down, okay? Around 10 a.m., a repairman arrives at a home on Quail Run Court for a scheduled job.
Holy shit.
And while he's there, he interacts with the homeowner.
Hey, this does this look familiar like Tucson? The thing is, if you know anything about Arizona, New Mexico, Utah, the parts of Colorado around there, it's like we have secret installations underground. We have them inside mountains, stuff like that in the hills. I believe he was there because he wanted to be close to UFO activity, I believe. But
For a 68-year-old retired.
reminds me of Tucson, Nancy Guthrie as well. With where this is in the desert, similar.
Air Force general named William Neal McCaslin. That interaction is confirmed, and it is apparently the last confirmed sighting of him. About an hour later, at around 11:10 a.m., McCaslin's wife leaves the house for a medical appointment, and when she returns just before 12:04 p.m., the house is empty. Now, according to friends who spoke with the Dayton Daily News, McCaslin is the kind of guy who loves the outdoors, an avid hiker, a skier, biker, someone comfortable navigating the rough terrain. So at first glance, you might be thinking, okay, maybe he just stepped out for a walk or an activity. But this is where it gets strange, because according to the sheriff's office, McCaslin left behind his phone, which was still sitting on the counter, his prescription glasses, his wearable devices, including his Apple Watch, all still inside the home. So for someone to walk out the door in 2026 without those things, it's a little weird, right? And by around 3 p.m. that
It's almost like somebody got on the phone, flipped a switch in his head that told him to leave that stuff there. I feel like there's a switch in his head somebody. I mean, there's stuff that the CIA does with mind control that they've done going back to Lee Harvey Oswald and stuff that we've had over decades. And it makes me think that somebody said a word to him and it flipped a switch in his brain. And I can be dead sure they do that to people like him. I've heard them doing mind control to people that know stuff like him, where they could just erase everything out of their head. They could tell, they could flip a switch. I think that could have happened. I think that it sounds like it, and that's what it does. It's not conspiracy theory. It's just we have programs, you know, all the way back to the 50s, doing stuff with people, or you know, flips a switch in their head. It's also like hypnosis. It's on a total different level and stuff. And they do stuff. They leave. They disappear. And they'll leave a few things behind. That's what.
Afternoon, his wife reports him missing, and investigators, they quickly issue what is known as a silver alert. Early information suggested that McCaslin might have had some kind of medical issue, which led many people to assume, you know, his age, does he have dementia or Alzheimer's, some sort of mental health condition. But we're going to come back to that, because his wife would later address that directly and make it very clear that was not the case. But you do have a missing person. You have a retired Air Force Major General. And according to his official U.S. Air Force biography, this is a guy who spent 34 years working on some of the most sensitive technology the U.S. military has: astronautical engineering, space acquisition, the National Reconnaissance Office, the spy satellite people, the Pentagon, eventually command of the Air Force Research Laboratory at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Ohio. Again, that's the lab that, according to his bio, managed a $2.2 billion science and technology technology program, plus another $2.2 billion in customer-funded research and development. And here's why that matters for the UFO connection, because according to an article that was published by Ohio State University, Wright-Patterson was the headquarters of Project Blue Book, the government's 17-year investigation into UFOs that looked at nearly 13,000 reported sightings. That's been the report. And for decades, conspiracy theorists have claimed that that is where the government took the debris from the Roswell incident in 1947. So those claims, I will be clear, have never officially been confirmed, but the association's there. So day one comes and goes, there's no signs of him. Day two, day three, nothing. And then the searches begin. According to the sheriff's office, they started canvassing the neighborhood. We're talking more than 700 homes, going door to door, asking for ring camera footage, security video, anything that might have caught a glimpse of McCaslin leaving the area. Drone operations, helicopter support, ground searches with search and rescue teams, canine units, horses, volunteers. They're scouring the foothills, the trails, the open space around his home. And then on March 7th, more than a week into the search, investigators find something. The sheriff's office reported they located a gray U.S. Air Force sweatshirt about 1.25 miles east of McCaslin's residence. They collected it, they processed it, and according to their statement, no blood was detected during initial analysis and additional testing is pending. They also noted that the family has not been able to confirm the sweatshirt actually belonged to McCaslin, but it was enough to send search teams back out to that area. And by the 2-week mark, the sheriff's office releases this new photo showing McCaslin wearing a button-up shirt. This is very, very crucial, by the way, because this is the shirt that investigators now say they believe he was wearing when he disappeared. So I want you to get a good look at this picture here, okay? They also confirm some other items are unaccounted for, like his hiking boots, his wallet, a .38 caliber revolver with a leather holster. And meanwhile, the FBI is also now involved. According to BCSO, the Albuquerque field office started assisting. The Air Force Office of Special Investigations is also looped in. New Mexico State Search and Rescue, Albuquerque Mountain Rescue. It's a multi-agency effort now. And still, according to the sheriff's latest update, there's no confirmed sightings, no video of him leaving, no direction of travel, nothing as far as we can see. At least as far as they're coming out with information. And that is when the internet started doing what the internet does. Because when a retired Air Force general with ties to Wright-Patterson disappears under mysterious circumstances, and his name happens to appear in hacked emails discussing UFO.
This guy that's on here, I know him, and he's like, he's one of those guys that thinks that UFOs is just funny stuff or whatever it sounds like, so he doesn't want to say it. He's probably sounds like one of those people that still doesn't believe in stuff that is real.
Disclosure, that's when people start to talk, right? And trust me, they have. From kidnapping to national security theories to, yes, alien abduction. So what exactly are people claiming happened here? And what does McCaslin's wife have to say about all of this? That is what we're going to get into next, because while the internet has been running wild with speculation, his wife finally broke her silence. And what she said is, well, let's just say she addressed the elephant in the room head on, and she brought up the thing that everybody's been asking about, the aliens. Before we even get to that, and before we even get into the theories, we wanted to bring in somebody who can help us understand what might actually be happening behind the scenes, because it's very easy to get lost in the UFO chatter, right? But at the end of the day, there are real investigations working this case. You have a missing persons case. How different is this one compared to other ones? This is why I now want to bring in private criminal defense investigator Billy.
Major General. That's what. That's 2-star general, I think. I believe that's 2-star.
Lane, such a pleasure to always have him. Billy, thank you so much for taking the time to talk about this. Do you find it strange that he hasn't been found?
No. A lot of it depends on the area in which he went missing from. We've had searches that go on for months. Typically within 30 days is a normal good time frame to try and locate somebody and bring them back home. So as you had mentioned, there's a lot of chatter going on with this search, with the disappearance of him. And I think sometimes that brings in good and bad, because it can bring in additional resources, like the federal government, like the military. But the bad part is that sometimes you lose focus on the fact that this is a missing man. Just like in a lot of other cases, he's a dad, he's a brother, a husband, a friend who possibly chose to leave his home on his own accord. and is either in a location where he's had a medical emergency, he's had an accident, or unfortunately he's chosen to cause potential self-harm to himself.
But again, if you have all of these agencies looking for him and all of this attention, even if you had a situation like that, how could he not be found? I mean, does it suggest more likely that he was taken?
He was. Well, he wasn't.
I'm not quite sure if I buy into that theory, because he's armed. Number one, he has a gun on him. From what we're hearing, there's no.
Well, I mean, maybe we can't account for the gun, but maybe.
Correct. He's been trained. He knows what he's doing. I feel like he would fall higher in the possibilities of self-defense than your average.
Something is this stuff doesn't add up. Where it seems like a switch flipped in his head. He left all his belongings behind. They took his gun with him. That also does not make much sense. But it's like, when you do that, you disregard all stuff, including your phone. That's really bad. You do that, you know something bad is going to happen. If I was doing that, this is just me. If I left my phone here, it means that I don't want to be tracked. I don't want people knowing where I'm going, and I don't want these cell towers to ping me where I am. Now, we live in a surveillance state where there are cameras everywhere, but where that shirt was found, the place that he lives reminds me of Nancy Guthrie's in Tucson, alright? So, I feel like where he went, there wasn't security, there wasn't surveillance around probably, otherwise they would have found it by now. I feel like he was put out in the desert. That's just me.
Average person based on his history in the military, okay? I believe if that was the case and he was taken, you're going to see some struggle. You're going to see some indications that he did not want to go with this person. What's very concerning in this case is that he left his glasses, he left his phone, he left his watch, and when it all boils down, we see this.
When you're leaving your life behind. Because that's what I would do. That's what, like I said, parallels between guys in the mob when they're about to get whacked. They leave that stuff there for family or whatever, to just leave some of that personal stuff. The part that doesn't make sense is that he still had his gun maybe with him, because that would scare the other party. You don't, if you want to kill somebody or take somebody out, you don't want them coming with a gun.
It's a lot in our cases. We try not to focus on the noise. We try to focus on the individual, and that he, like a lot of other people, leave their devices and walk away from them. Why do they do that? Yeah. Well, they don't want to be tracked. They don't want to be followed. Yeah, that's what I said, They don't have any intent to communicate with anybody unless they return. So that's concerning, and we see that a lot of times in these cases where people want to go into the woods and and do their own thing.
Two parts about this. The photo that was released. A, how significant is that? And B, why release a photo like this now as we're so far into this investigation?
I think they want to jog people's memory. I think they want people to sort of look at the picture and see if they remember seeing him in those clothes or in that state. There's several pictures of him being released out here. Some of them are older pictures, so you want the most recent picture to try and jog somebody's memory and see if they did see him. I think it's very significant that that they are looking for Ring doorbell camera video, because what you're trying to do, you're trying to get a direction of travel. Which way was he heading? Where was he heading to? Where's the last point in which we knew he was at? That's very important to us. Like I tell everybody, and I think we've said this before, it's not about the
The part about him leaving his glasses make no sense. If you want to get away and not get trapped, just to get away from surveillance, you never leave your glasses behind. We need our glasses so we can see right in front of us, or else we can slip and fall. We could break our legs, our ankles, because he goes up. I've been up on these trails. I've been up in the mountains myself. Stuff can happen where you get a broken leg, you get a broken ankle, broken arm, and stuff. And I've been around the medical field. I've seen this, where people go on hikes. They never get found until years later sometimes, because they left stuff behind, or they were able to get help and they broke a leg, they broke an ankle, they could not get back home, they could not get a hold of help. I've seen that plenty of times. And you're to bring your glasses with you so you can see right in front of you. Okay, that's nothing to do with tracking. You leave glasses there. That was like, if you knew your life was at an end, pretty much.
The who and the why and the possibilities. It's about the where. Right. Where that last spot that he was at's the most important thing.
The sweatshirt that was found, a little over a mile east of his home, discovered on March 7th. No blood in the initial processing. Family can't confirm if it's his. How do you handle a piece of evidence like that? And how significant do you think it is here?
You collect it like it's a piece of evidence in a criminal investigation. You preserve it and try to get it in to be processed. The most important thing is hit his DNA on that shirt. If they've done that. And also you need to, it's not the end all be all, because you don't know if it's his or not. So you have to document where it's at, and you have to consider that as part of your search. For us, the most important thing is confirmed last known location. Now the shirt could potentially confirm that he was there at some point, but that hasn't happened yet. So you have to consider the possibility that it could be involved. So you need to search that area. But the most important place is the home, and how, and not for nothing, but he's a very athletic individual based on reports. He hikes, he does a lot of things outdoors. So what is his potential to be able to get to a certain location? How far could he have went? Normally for us, it's about 2 miles. For this gentleman here, it could be 10 miles. What did he take with him? Did he take any supplies with him that he could have lasted longer, more days? Maybe he wants to get away. Maybe he wants to get farther into the mountains. There's a lot of possibilities, but each one of those helps us determine, how far our search parameters are going to be. Typically, they're within 2 miles for your average person.
So authorities, I thought this was interesting. They've expanded to the neighborhood. They're canvassing more than 700 homes. They're asking for security footage from this specific window, right? February 27th to the 28th, between 9 a.m., 2 p.m. As far as we can see, they also said they don't have confirmed video of him leaving that area, no direction of travel, nothing, as far as they're telling us, unless maybe they're not revealing some information to the public. But this is 2026, you have cameras. How is it possible they can't capture them?
Path of travel, you'd have to look at where the home is. We have a lot of people who go out the back doors. They know where some of the cameras are. If they really want to circumvent the cameras, they can. And the other possibility is that, he got in a car with someone, or he somehow got out of the neighborhood, wasn't captured on the cameras.
Do you think about that too when you look at the short time frame between when the wife left and when she came back home?
Yeah, but also if I wanted to go do something and it wasn't the best choice in the world, maybe I want to do that when my wife leaves. Maybe that's the prime opportunity time for me to walk out the door and not be stopped by my wife or by somebody who loves me. Because maybe I'm having a crisis at the moment. Maybe I do want to do something that's not the best choice.
Let me ask you about some of the theories. And I'm going to start with it because it's important to address it. I can't not address it when we're talking about this man with this career and the timing of it. So the idea, one of the theories is, this is a guy who knew things, deeply classified things. Whether you want to say it's outdated information or not, you could still make the argument it's valuable information.
It's not like I said. With me, I still didn't know there's still things that I know what's going on with UFO programs that's happening, and some tells me that maybe, I don't know, I'm not going to go that direction because I don't know. But I think about something else, but me and him could be different on that. Or maybe he goes these places to see UFOs. He could know about places, maybe not, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, once you're in the know as much as he is, me, I'm nothing compared to this guy, but I'm still in the know with stuff. He's gonna, you have contacts. You have people you can talk to. You know, stuff is still ongoing decades later. All right. Once you're in the know, you're just about always in the know. You just still know that these programs are still ongoing. You're gonna know stuff.
National security information that he was taken. So when you think about that, we talked earlier about his Air Force bio, 34 years, the National Reconnaissance Office, command of the...
With Ross Coulthard, just said that he wanted to put this information out. There are people in our government, that in Congress, they've installed stuff in Congress. They made people investigative committees where they said UFOs don't exist, even though there's proof now that there is. They got back on their words, on their word about UFOs and everything. With him, he is a big threat. He knows too much. They do not want evidence out there. There's a lot of criminal activity that goes on in these special access programs and in these defense contractors.
The Air Force Research Laboratory at Wright-Patterson. I talked about the billions of dollars that was assigned to here that he was overseeing, right? He has all of this classification. He has this know-how. When you think about a potential foreign actor or a foreign party or a bad actor who might want that information, does that seem plausible to you? I mean, you mentioned before why you don't think it's likely he was taken, but if we're trying to navigate the possibility that he had information that was valuable, is that something that's being considered, and how is it being investigated and considered?
I would say absolutely it has to be considered. You have to run that to ground. You have to prove that that's not the case here. And that's where you're seeing the FBI potentially coming in, law enforcement are taking that into consideration. But the question you have to ask yourself is why now? He's been retired for some time. Why did they take the opportunity at this moment in time to...
This goes back, ask why. As they were saying in the last video, Trump, said, he wants stuff declassified and they want stuff out in the open for the public. He sees this as a time where he can come out, he can start talking about stuff. And of course, defense contractors like Lockheed Martin, which, my father worked with and stuff like that, and everything. There's some people from the old regime saying, hey, we can't have this, we need to kill this guy. It sounds like old regime in a way, but you can't just say that a major general doesn't know what they're talking about. You can't dismiss it like you can with some other people from the Air Force or Navy or other people around military or special access programs. You can't dismiss it like that. You can't. Major General has power, It goes a long way. Anyway, so let me see here. I think I go right there. Let me see here.
There was a conversation I had.
Still quite a way from where we are sitting right now.
Yeah, my brain is still somewhere over the Pacific, so I hope you're kind to me and not too ruthless as you HPMs
to take them down.
Craft.
Have we purposely murdered other beings?
Yes.
Oh, God, that's a horrible thought, isn't it?
Have we?
I suspect we have.
Yes.
I've asked them what happened to the beings.
This is Area 52. With Ross Coulthart. I think, like I said, I have some encounters with UFOs, and I know that they're scared to show themselves around here a bit. I know it's because they're afraid that they're going to get downed. Anyways, shout out to them. Again, legal. I have to say this is fair use. I'm putting my own content, my own experiences, stuff that I know in with this as well. So, let's go.
And I just get a squeamish look.
Whew. Do you believe that some of the people you've spoken to, Jake included, David Grush included, are closer to the program than they let on?
Yeah.
I can't say.
Well, I think you just did.
You just didn't say it.
When people know what I was talking about,
Sure.
I mean,
When you say when people know,
they will know. I'm pretty sure it'll become public.
is it outside of the Five Eyes?
Oh, you could definitely see it on a satellite.
It's a building. I've said it's a building.
It's a building. Is the building the shape of the
Sure
craft?
is, I know that.
Yeah. At 10:30 at night, he puts the blindfold over his eyes, and within a few seconds, he says, "I'm engaged." And I said, "What do you mean you're engaged?" He says, "I'm in a craft." He says, "Horizon." And I look towards the horizon, and there are these two golden white orbs that just appear on the horizon. These objects do come closer. And I'm just like, holy hell. I was excited. I thought, wow, that was really something. But I was kind of disappointed for Jordan because we hadn't seen what he said he was going to see, which was the blue hexagon. Almost simultaneously at the moment that I'm saying to Jordan, gee, real shame that we didn't see the blue hexagon. You see a blue hexagonal orb, exactly as Jordan had predicted.
Is there a piece of information you wish you were never told?
Yeah, there is.
I was given the names of...
Just me before he says that. The stuff that I know will keep you up at night. There's stuff I know that with the one celebrity girl that I know of, she asked, I told her stuff that I wasn't going to tell her because it's bad and everything. And she says, well, I want to know. I want to know everything. I said, no, you wouldn't be able to sleep at night. If people knew what I do, not what I know, not what I do, but what I know, not just on UFOs, but other stuff, the nightmare stuff, you would not be able to sleep at night. You could go crazy from it. And it's the stuff of nightmares. There's some good stuff. There are good ETs as well. But there's a lot of stuff that will give you nightmares. They'll make you think you're scared. No.
Of.
And it wasn't Jake. I was given the names of people who ordered the murder of his team.
Documentary photographer and a former military intelligence guy, which I can prove with IDD 214. It's fall of either sometime between 80 and 83. We can't remember for sure. We're coming back from a trip to the Ozarks, and we were on Highway 96 between Springfield and Joplin, heading west back towards Kansas, when suddenly we weren't. My mom remembers waking up behind the wheel of a moving car on a gravel farm road to learn that I was also ill. My sister, myself, the dog vomited, and my mom knew that she had lost time based on the dashboard clock reading. She knew time had passed. 2 weeks later, my mom saw a craft land in the park across the street from our house in the small town we lived in. And two beings got out of the vehicle and walked towards her in the park, and she had a telepathic communication experience with these two beings, and they gave the message that they were there to check on us and to make sure that we were doing okay. And two beings re-entered the craft, it took off and vanished. That's where my story starts.
Wow.
All right, I think we can get started here. You good to go?
But then it's just like, good luck, you're on your own. I have a cursed life. A very cursed life. I mean, they come out to see me, they do. But they don't do that. But then it's more like, yeah, we're here, bye. You're here, we're here. Stuff, and I asked them to get me off this shitty existence and everything, and dive in and everything. And so, anyways, since nobody is watching right now, I'm going to take a leak. Oh, wait a second. What is? Oh my god. That's the wrong one, doesn't it? Holy fucking shit. Oh god.